You're listening to Raising Anchor on 990 WBOB. Welcome to the Raising Anchor Soccer Show with Matt Entrican and Jason Carey. Your home for news, analysis, and everything Rhode Island FC. Each week, they take you inside the locker room, inside the tactics, and inside the storyline shaping RIFC. Now, here's Matt and Jason.
Rhode Island FC returned to action after not playing a competitive match in 21 days against Orange County Soccer Club as they head in from the Western Conference. It's a team that Rhode Island has not seen since its initial season in 2024, and they currently sit at the top of that Western Conference. Can RIFC pick up back where they left off before the break and get their first result in club history against the side, making fireworks of their own, or will Coach Danny Stone of Orange County have different plans as we celebrate the nation's 250th birthday? Jason, we're right in the middle of World Cup cycle. I mistakenly set this up right in the middle of that incredible Croatia-Portugal game. Hashtag not a World Cup soccer show, but it's going to be difficult not to talk about it. How are you doing, my friend?
Oh, man. That was a game. That was exhausting. That was a very crazy end to this game, and it's been a very long World Cup. It feels like a lifetime since we've done a podcast. Like I've seen 1,000 games.
Yeah, I mean, we will talk a little bit here in a second. Obviously, we've got people coming in that are attending the live show here from that Portugal-Croatia result. But, I think a lot of people, Jason, might be wanting to have a conversation, and it's not which legendary Real Madrid player was kind of hanging up their boots to their international career tonight. Instead, it's comparing the goals and who did it better between Ronaldo and Rio Hope Gunn, the RIFC alumni legend, as he opened his Detroit City FC account in a 1-1 current draw with Birmingham Legion FC. Who did it better?
I admit I was too busy watching the Portugal game. I did not see Hope Gunn's goal. I'll check that game later out after maybe, all these other World Cup games.
When we do the next scouting report for Detroit or Birmingham. Yeah. Now, remember, that game had a little bit of consequence. If Birmingham does get a result, we could see them potentially jump us and drop us in the table standings while we're talking live. So we'll kind of keep an eye on that. And when we get to the table standings, maybe we'll have an accurate snapshot. But getting quickly, and I do mean quickly, into this World Cup, overall thoughts and impressions so far, I think this has been the best World Cup ever.
Yeah, I mean, in the modern era here, it's hard to argue against that. Obviously, the last final, Argentina-France, maybe one of the best World Cup games ever. So, I think we'll have to see how the tournament kind of pans out. I mean, last night we saw USA knock out Bosnia and Herzegovina at the same time.
How dare they make us play two countries at the same time like that?
So I did one goal count against one and one the other. So we beat two teams 1-0. Like, is it like an aggregate from that?
Which one did we get the red card against then? Right. By the way, a couple questions came in the mailbag about that. That's a red card, right? Like, we don't need to have that discussion.
It unfortunately is. I think the problem is if you look at the way that this tournament has been reffed, it probably would be more like a yellow, because it's been one of those tournaments where they're kind of letting them play, if you will, with the exception of the first game where the ref was maybe a little red card happy. We haven't really seen much since then. And for the ref to go that long without carding anybody, and then to go back and retroactively immediately go straight to red, it felt kind of harsh.
Hear me out, because everyone's comparing it to the Messi red that didn't get called. We retro the Messi red as well. Gives Cape Verde an even better chance to advance in the round of 16. It's a win-win.
There we go. Yeah,
Can't hate
I'll take it.
What's been your favorite match so far of the knockout round besides the U.S. game? Or did we just watch it 5 seconds ago?
I mean, that was a good one.
We had disagreed at the end of that match about whether or not contact was made by the Croatian attacker. Yeah, I still don't think the angles are not conclusive enough for VAR to make it clear and obvious, in my opinion. You disagree with me, but hey, sometimes we're not going to be on the same page about that. Croatia was robbed. I'm just going to say it right now.
I mean, we wouldn't be doing that as this podcast actually right now, because we'd still be watching the extra time if that would have happened. I mean, I didn't really have any skin in the game. I was open to either team kind of progressing and just kind of here for the enjoyment. But it's one of those things where, I see it, and unfortunately is probably the right call. So
That's-
maybe the last.
For the record, everyone that doesn't know, Jason is a Real Madrid fan, so of course he's gonna root for CR7 there on that one.
No, I mean Modric, also Real Madrid legend there. So I mean, if you're saying I'm a stan, I like, which side do I pick?
Do you have either one of their kits in your locker?
No.
Okay, just checking. Want to get really quickly into the last bit of FIFA, news and having a conversation. The last time we did one of these shows, which feels like it was over a month ago, we talked about the new rules and some of the changes that were going to be experienced in this World Cup. Overall thoughts, how have you felt about those so far? Have they had a tremendous impact on the game, either negatively or positively? Because the most common question, and we're just going to answer it now, is our feelings and thoughts on the hydration break. Overall, I'm curious, how have you seen this tournament unfold by the new changes that FIFA's put in?
So I've so far liked the rule changes. I think the hand covering the mouth one is hilarious. I love seeing players get sent off for that. I mean, we've seen it twice so far in the most recent Mexico game, and then we also saw Miguel Marón from Atlanta United fame, get sent off too. That was hilarious. But yeah, the commercial breaks, like, let's just be honest, I mean, to be fair, there is a heat wave going on right now on the East Coast. It was very unpleasant outside today.
It's been unpleasant almost the entire week. Like, we were at Gillette for the Paraguay Germany game, and that we were consuming adult beverages just to stay alive in that heat. So I listen, the hydration breaks, I look at them as, if you've had a lot to consume, they're perfect restroom stops then along the way. The hydration breaks, I just think everyone's gonna have to get used to it. Some people actually have talked and reached out to us and said they like how it stifles the momentum. It can change the direction. If a team is starting to struggle, it can kind of change shape. I don't really think you're going to get a lot of tactical wizardry out of those breaks.
So far, the only break that I've seen, I think, that actually had a kind of an impact was in the England game, right? In that second half where they came back and scored those 2 goals, or I guess second quarter of the, or fourth quarter, I guess, if you will. I don't know.
Oh, we're into quarters now with football. Yeah, exactly. But I do like what I have loved the most, though, is the injury time. Like, they are reducing that so significantly. Everyone's so afraid to be off the pitch for 30 seconds to a minute, or even longer, depending on the ref's penchant for how much time they want to, deliver there. I have liked the change of speed on getting players off the pitch, and also, like, outside of serious injuries and of course, like, head to head, I have enjoyed watching players just like kind of get back up and get back into the game. But I think overall it's all moving in the right direction. And I just think for those of you that hate hydration breaks, I'm not really a fan, but they're not going to go away because FIFA probably just made $2 billion in advertising revenue for them. So getting back into Rhode Island FC specific news, while on break, I didn't even know this was a thing, Jason. Did you know that USL is now assigning midseason nominations and awards?
I mean, I guess they do. Or just, we've also, our team has been on break. So I feel like we've just kind of been removed and been enjoying the World Cup here and forget that, oh yeah, I guess all the other teams that are like decided to just keep playing for some reason.
JJ Williams nominated for that midseason player of the year, which maybe that's not the right way to say it, but didn't win it. It actually instead went to French forward Isan Sako from Phoenix Rising. But Williams is in good company. He's amongst Sako, Darren Smith, after he scored 4 goals recently against one of the teams out here. Was it Sporting Jacks that he scored 4 goals against? Was it 5 goals? Right. I just know he scored a ton of goals in that game. Also, though, alongside last year's Golden Boot winner in Peter Wilson. Overall thoughts on seeing a Rhode Island FC player, but specifically JJ, get the nod?
It's good to see him get a nomination there. He has had a very good season so far. I think, unfortunately, he's losing out here just because of pure numbers. If you go take a look at Sako, I think he's 9-4 or something. So it's a little bit ahead of JJ there. Maybe the break doesn't help us either, that we're not getting eyes on us. I'm not sure how this is voted by fans or.
So it is a popularity vote. Okay. The league nominates based on stats, and Williams' overlying numbers still earned him a spot on this list. He's had a contribution every 89.6 minutes, record league high 41 shots so far in this midseason period.
What you're telling me is Rhode Island FC fans have been enjoying the World Cup and not paying attention to midseason awards.
That or just Phoenix Rising, they put a QR code out one of their games that everybody scan this and and vote for your boy. I mean, think about the MLS All-Stars when like players get nominated and some clubs don't want their player to go because they don't want him to get injured. So they don't let it vote. But others are like, hey, we need the publicity. We need the social traffic, stuff like that. So yeah, no, Williams very much there. And I do think, to your point, that it is a numbers game right now. And that's going to be a large conversation for a lot of the underlying stats. We continue to talk about it. I mentioned it on Orange and Black Soccer Cast. We were on their show earlier this week. Go check that out. It's in our socials if you want to listen, where they're just interviewing us to learn about Rhode Island FC. But I think, yeah, when you look at the Williams impact, he just hasn't had the same amount of games. Like those 3-4 extra games really could catapult him to the top of the stack. And you'd love to see it.
Yeah. Fun fact here, he's actually 1 goal away from cracking the top 10 goal scorers since 2020. So getting up there.
That's an insane stat. Now, I didn't do any graphic packages for tonight because, again, World Cup. But, like, I have the list here. Since 2020, the top 11. So Williams right now sitting in 11th with 48 goals. The list in front of him, Cal Jennings, 82 goals. Augie Williams, who's been in this league for like 15 years, at 69. Russell Cicerone, 65. Philip Goodrum, 63. Manuel Artiega, 56. Albert Dika, 55. Wilson Harris, now going to the New England Revolution, by the way. He's at 53. Ronaldo Damus, 50. Sebastian Gonzani, 50. And Luis Solniak, 49. That is a list of lists when you want to talk about the all-time. Since we've moved to this more modern pro era here, that's a good list to be a part of, and he's just now 1 goal away from passing Luis Solniak.
Yeah, crazy to see Cal James at the top there, and he's not even in the league anymore, at least not right now. We might talk about him a little bit later.
Maybe he will be coming back to the league,
not
everyone.
At his team anymore. I don't know.
Crazy. Well, then let's jump into these table standings and just break it down. Walk us through where we're at with the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference.
Yeah, the USL Championship table continues to tighten as the calendar turns to July, and while there wasn't wholesale movement kind of across the standings this past week, there were a few clubs that made significant statements. In the Eastern Conference, Charleston Battery strengthened their hold near the top after another victory, while Detroit City FC and Louisville City remained firmly in the race behind conference-leading Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, we keep talking about the tightness of this race, especially, again, those games in hand. Rhode Island still outside the playoff line, could have even been lower. In fact, let's just do a check-in on that game between Birmingham and Detroit City right now, still tied in the 76th minute here, but very much in control of their destiny here and in where they want to be in that postseason glory, if you really think about it, still sitting in that 9th position. Meanwhile, Orange County Soccer Club, where has this team been, Jason? Not on my radar. I knew they were a good team. I knew they were a competent team. Did not know they were a top of the table, having climbed the summit kind of team, eclipsing San Antonio FC last week after finding victories against Miami FC and Las Vegas Lights in these last 2 weeks ahead of the mental health break. Behind them, Oakland Roots, they're still sitting in that top 3. Ryan Martin doing incredible things there. Colo Spigs, New Mexico United, trying to get back into that upper half, but it's very much right now a San Antonio, an Oakland Roots, an FC Tulsa, and an Orange County fun fight at the top. Points-wise, though, back to the East, if we're going serious here for a second, 31 points, Tampa Bay. We're not talking about them anymore. We know what that looks like.
They're running away with it.
Charleston Battery at 26. 3 wins for Rhode Island puts them firmly in 4th place right now, and that still gives them a competitive edge to compete for as much as 2nd, 3rd, or 4th here. So, again, it's really anyone's game at this time.
Yeah, and we've talked about this for a while, but like coming to one of the biggest stories here for RIFC is their position in the standings. Ninth place is not going to jump off the page, but we played the least amount of matches around.
We have to keep talking about that, right?
Yeah, and so obviously you have to win your game in hand, but a win against the Western Conference leaders, which we do like to play well, I should say, against top opponents. I think that could really give us a boost into that second half of the season here.
Yeah, and so we'll talk about that here in the head-to-head. Obviously, this game this weekend, for a lot of reasons, is going to kind of be a test against the league's current standard bearer, if you will, on the Western side of things. But let's get into the head-to-head before we go to break.
Yeah, and so despite both clubs enjoying recent success in the USL Championship, these organizations have crossed paths only one time. Orange County claimed that first meeting in Southern California back in 2024. Courtesy of a goal from Bryce Jameson, ex-LA Galaxy player there. So Saturday night marks Rhode Island FC's first opportunity to even the all-time series there. We don't get to play the West Coast teams too often. Sometimes the way our schedule works out, we sometimes only get to see them once a year. So this is the first time they're come out and visit us.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't even see them in 2025, to your point. And I think last year they didn't do well, if I remember.
They didn't. So it would have been a better year to play them.
That would have been the year to have them at Centerville.
But then
Bank
again,
Stadium.
sometimes we don't play down to our opponents. So I don't know.
They got a result against Miami just this last week. So that is something we are still searching for to find. We've got to go to break. And when we return, we're going to talk about how RIFC kicks the tires and lights the fires to get ready for their first game in 21 days. Don't go anywhere. It's the Raising Anchor Soccer Show.
Thank you for listening to tonight's broadcast powered by Sprout Coworking. For all your business needs, large or small, visit sproutcoworking.com. Powering 990 WBOB, that's sproutcoworking.com.
Now, let's get back to the Raising Anchor Soccer Show on 990 WBOB with Matt Entrickett and Jason Carey. Back here on the Raising Anchor Soccer Show, talking about this Rhode Island FC side now. They're returning from a lengthy break. It felt like it was almost structured between an additional bye week, the mental health break, sprinkling in some World Cup time. We saw several of the players at many of the World Cup watch parties. They were enjoying their R&R. But listen, this team was heading into a fantastic direction right before the break. They were 2-2-1 in their last 5 games in that stretch. The biggest takeaway, though, the goals. 10 goals in the last 5 games. They've outscored their opponents 11-3 in the last 6. This team has started to come alive. And then the one you see coming off of Loudoun, we called them the boogeyman for almost 3 seasons now, and they completely dismantle that Loudoun side with, I'd argue, a starting 11 that maybe we thought was a little unconventional, especially with some of the shakeup and some departures from a recall. This team seems like they're doing everything right, and then we pump the brakes.
Yeah, and I think that's the encouraging part, though, is we've seen this Rhode Island team create chances consistently, especially when they're playing with confidence. The attack has looked dangerous from multiple areas of the field. The question has been kind of finding that balance between the margin of the championship is very small, right? Even the bottom teams on any given day can give you a fight. You score 4 goals one week, and then the next defensive lapse cost you a game.
And we saw that with Birmingham Legion. We saw just the 1-1 draw against Tampa Bay. And then again, we've seen us drop points against those opponents that shouldn't really have been dropped, which have seen us in an even more. Could you imagine, Jason, if we had won the Sporting Jacks game and we had won the Miami game, as most opponents have been running through those teams, we would be sitting in 5th place with 3 games in hand. Like, that is a much easier final climb to crack the top 4. It's an exciting time, but again, you go back even further beyond Loudoun, the 3-0 win against Westchester. That's also, for me, a sign of a team that you're supposed to put away. You're supposed to show that you can demonstrate that you can put games to bed. Brooklyn FC, another great example of that. But then you lose to Indy 11, and that's a team where you start asking yourself, they're going to be a contender. They're going to be a team that's going to fight for maybe that final home playoff spot, similar to what we saw in season 1 with this club, or at least just we're going to have to go through them potentially in some postseason play. That's not a team where you want to see us not get a result as well. So bit of a, I won't say a mixed bag. This team is consistently doing better and better each week, but we've also seen this team struggle early on in the seasons. Do we think we're past that hurdle yet?
It's hard to say. Like I mentioned, though, a few moments ago, like RIFC does play well to the top opponents, right? We took the game to Louisville, even though we didn't end up winning. We got a 1-1 draw against Tampa Bay. Not many teams in the league can say that, especially what do they have, like 39 points or something? Like, I mean,
36, but who's counting?
Yeah. So now the challenge is, though, can we do that consistently? And especially against an Orange County side that, looks very strong here in regards to their offense.
Everything I've been told about Orange County, everything of the tape I've watched, it does not make sense to me. I keep continuing to get told this team is a tight, compact, organized, disciplined team that doesn't give up a lot of goals, but they do give up goals, and they give up goals pretty consistently across the entirety of their season so far. So I'm not sure if this is going to be a low scoring affair or if the floodgates are going to open one direction or another. But right now, the direction for Rhode Island FC, the mandate, if you will, it's super simple. Get back to that momentum you were at 21 days ago and just continue on, keep on keeping on, as they say, and they should be able to really put to test Orange County. Unfortunately, media day is tomorrow, so I don't have the availability reports. We'll probably just post those live when we get to the training sessions. Right now, we have to go off of the last availability report we had, which was Amity Jope and CJ Williams, still listed as questionable at that time. I can imagine that unless if those players are not back, right? If there's a new set of players we find out that aren't available, so be it. But if those players aren't back, that would have made 2 months of no availability. Like there's a serious longer term injury between those players then.
Yeah, that would be surprising not to see a pretty much, let's say, 99% healthy squad, with the exception of just maybe something that happened in training in the last week or two. Kind of looking here ahead to what we think this projected lineup is going to be here. I assume we're going to have Koke Vegas in net, as we always do.
Do you know how shocked we'll be the first time Vegas isn't in net? Like there will just be panic in the streets because it's like, what happened? Is he okay?
Yeah, I think there'll be concerns when we don't see him, at least this season. Nick Scardina, Karifa Yao, Frank Nodarce, kind of making up the back line there.
Aldair Sanchez probably in the back left
as well, probably two there. Clay Holstad and Ugo Bacharach as your holding midfielders, with Jojea Quizera, Amos Shapiro-Thompson, and Augustine Rodriguez as kind of your attacking midfielders, with JJ Williams up top.
Now, the last time we saw the starting 11 for this side against Loudoun, Aldair Sanchez not in the lineup. Instead, it was Frank Nodarce out on the left side, Grant Stoneman in the center. Do we think that experiment will continue, or are we going to get back to what we know, and that is a Sanchez on the left? Or is there a case to be made that Stoneman in a game like this, because if there's one player that knows the OCSC, at least particulars, the system changes, they go through a lot of turn and burn like a lot of championship sides, but Stoneman was a loyal man for a very long time. There's between him and Koke Vegas, there's a lot of grief between those two sides. It's like a local rivalry. Is Stoneman maybe a better choice on the night?
I could see it, but I would prefer the creativity that having Aldair Sanchez brings to the team. That's just kind of how I would line up with it. Kano's gonna Kano, so
And then, I think the big surprise on the last lineup we saw too, Afonso relegated to the bench. He had been on the bench a couple of times now, whether that was through Prinks Tires Cup action, but now Augustine Rodriguez playing out on the wing, and then Amos Shapiro-Thompson occupying that central midfielder role. We've seen the goals, we've seen the combinations. They all came, ironically, from the substitutes in the last game. But do we want to see more of that, or is it time for Afonso to reclaim the left wing? What would you want to see? Is it the combination of Amos Shapiro-Thompson and Pitty, or is it Pitty back in the middle with Afonso, or is Pitty the one that gets relegated to the bench?
I think right now it's still AST and Augustine until Leo proves that maybe he kind of deserves that spot. I think he got a lot of minutes earlier on there, and he had some, we kept arguing, like being apologists, was like the goal's coming, and it kind of, they've been, few here and there, but I don't think he's convinced.
He's back-to-back goals as a substitute. Is that not enough? I know he's only got 3 in 10, 11 appearances.
Then maybe is that his curse? It's the Joe Brito effect, right? Like,
is he? I should have asked him when he was just on the show for the interview. It was recorded like 3 weeks earlier, but like I should have asked him how does he feel about changing his name to Joe Brito?
You put him on in a sub and he brings on energy and he scores a goal, but then you start him and you just don't get the same effect. He's obviously going to get opportunities. It's a long season. We have plenty of games in hand, so there's a lot of opportunity for this to kind of change. And Kano is very fluid with his lineups. So
one thing I learned in that interview is Afonso has every expectation to use the championship as a stepping stone to get back into either Division 1, whether that's with Rhode Island or back into the MLS. Like he said it himself, his story in MLS has not ended yet. So I don't know how content he will be if he's relegated to that, that substitute striker role. I think we're going to see that be one of the cases we need to watch and monitor through the second half of the season, is what exactly does Afonso's dominance and his role look like inside the squad. If that's our starting 11, then Jason, who do we think the X factors are on the match against this OCSC side?
I don't know if it's going to be one specific player. I think it can be a bit of a double-edged sword, but we just had a pretty sizable rest that not a lot of other teams have. And I think that can kind of rejuvenate the squad to give them that maybe momentum to push into the rest of the squad. At the same time, you could argue that it kind of breaks our momentum, but we're coming up against a OCSC team who's been on the road for quite some time now. So I think in this case, I think it can play to our favor.
I don't disagree with that. I think also too, when you look at the lack of playing time, and from what I've been told, they've still been playing scrimmages against international clubs have been coming in. So we knew about the Bermuda one. Someone told me they played Cape Verde, but I have no way of validating that, and I didn't even reach out. So I probably shouldn't even be saying that without confirmation. But I've heard that one. I've also heard teams.
Trust me, bro.
I've also heard teams around New England have been playing other teams that have been flying in that didn't even qualify for a World Cup, but like they were on it like breaks, and they were like, "Hey, we just want to keep our guys fit." And so yeah, I mean that makes sense. You know, the especially the North American teams that are still playing in active windows, even if there's a pause or not, they still have to find competitive time. I wouldn't be surprised if like Brooklyn FC drove up or we drove down there and they just had a scrimmage at some park field and like, it was all hush hush, you know, like again, those are the things that matter. But having said that, there is still going to be that first almost preseason jitter of like, you know, when players need that first game to really get back into it, grow their legs again. I think we may see a little bit of that. Like you're just coming back a little lethargic. You partied too hard. Your vacation was too peaceful.
We tend to start games slow anyway. So.
Right. And so, and when you look at where the goals have been coming, you look not just in the half, because we have scored so many in the second half as a team, but then you look at who's been making those contributions lately. It's been Noah Fuson. It's been Dwayne Atkinson. It's been Leo Afonso. Those are the guys that are going to come in the second half of these games to either get Rhode Island FC out of their rut or close the games down. I think that's the X factor here more than one particular player. I think that those three guys really have a spotlight on them to do some significant damage, especially considering how stingy we can be in those first half productions at times. So I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see the fireworks to the second half. And yes, sir, that was a pun because, of course, it is the 4th of July with the fireworks show. We've got to go to break. And when we return, we're going to talk all things about Orange County Soccer Club and how they may be a thorn in our side here on this 4th of July match. Don't go anywhere. It's the Raising Anchor Soccer Show. Fans, as the weather becomes more and more unpredictable, be sure to check out 990 WBOB's weather page for all your temperature, storm, and travel info. Stay prepared for whatever Mother Nature has in store with the 990 WBOB weather page.
Now, let's get back to the Raising Anchor Soccer Show on 990 WBOB with Matt Entrican and Jason Carey.
All right, back here on the Raising Anchor Soccer Show and getting into this OCSC side. They've quietly put together probably one of the strongest first halves of the USL championship season so far. Danny Stone's side entering this stretch of the campaign, sitting amongst the top of all these other teams. I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and listen to the rest of the pundits on where they had rated this team in the preseason with the acquisitions. We know Orange County is very much a academy feeder team to move talent on to Europe and other places. And you know, they've never been a team to ignore. It's a little bit harder maybe for Rhode Island because we see them so infrequently, but it's never been a team that like sits or echoes. Like I think of the top and my mind instantly always wanders to like teams like New Mexico United, teams like Sacramento Republic. And I know neither one of those teams are in the top 4 right now, but like that's Orange County just doesn't have that luster just yet. I'd say there's a lack of it, if you will, but what a balanced team this has been. One of the fewest recorded goals against in the league. Their offense is clicking in all the ways you'd want to see after 14, 15 matches in the championship. And they're, like you said earlier, Jason, they're doing all of it on the road right now.
Yeah, and I think the reason, and similar, I would not think of them as maybe one of the perennial top teams, is that it's the consistency. But that's what they've got going on this year that's made them so difficult to play against. Is they're very comfortable defending. They can be very compact before quickly kind of breaking in transition. But they've got the quality to control the possession as well when the game calls for it. So that there's some flexibility there with them. And that's produced wins against several playoff caliber opponents so far. It's keeping them near the top of the conference table, despite a demanding schedule from them. Even after early exit from the U.S. Open Cup and a disappointing USL Cup campaign, they've kept their focus squarely on league play, where they've continued to collect results. And even now they come away to us. They then have to go away to Hartford a few days later. So it's kind of a tough schedule for them.
I mean, we have a little bit of a tight schedule ourselves. We'll talk about that in just a second. But I agree. I mean, and again, the challenge here feels like it's very obvious for this team. On one hand, Orange County is at the peak. They're at the hottest that they could possibly be. So it's a good pressure test. Maybe it's the wrong time to test how their momentum has carried them versus us needing to rebuild that. But either way, it's going to build confidence. Even if this game ends up as a draw, holding one of the hottest teams, then you've done it to Tampa. Then you've done it to Orange County. Like, there's a lot of room here to kind of pat yourself on the back should this game not be a win in Rhode Island FC's favor. It's just, you just don't want to see a loss. You don't want to see a systemic breakdown of all the hard defensive work that this Rhode Island side has put in over this last 10, 11 games, especially considering, probably not making it out of Prinks now. We're probably, not going to see us get easily past some of these high-flying teams like Tampa Bay. Maybe we'll find some revenge against Louisville when they come back our way. But this is an opportunity to really test the mettle of the squad. And, and I still think there's fatigue. I mean, Orange County's on their own mental health break right now, and they're coming in. So they've had a week off, and they have a stretch of games, but they still have to start with us, and they've never been here. And that has to say something. The Orange County guys from Orange and Black, they're like, what does the stadium do, like, as an impact? And it's like, well, for the fans, it's great. For our team, it's great too. But for some reason, also the opponents, when they show up and they play in such an incredible setting, it kind of gets them, dialed up to an 11 as well. So it doesn't always work out the way we think it would. I still continue to think we need to break the AC in the visitor locker rooms and really make them sweat a little bit more. But, nevertheless, I digress. So we're going to change things up here because we got some feedback. And for the listeners, if you disagree with this, we're in an experimental phase. Let us know. Send us some comments. Show us some love or hate. But we found that a lot of the times we are making guesses or educated guesses around the player formations for the away team and the players they might be there, and they're not usually right. I mean, we're almost never right with Rhode Island's side. They're very rarely
of the way there.
They're very rarely correct unless we have a guest who can speak to it, and then that's a different story. But when it's us, pontificating what we think, we kind of think it might be a waste of time for you guys to hear us name the starting 11 and the formation that they might pick on the day. So instead, what we want to do is just highlight who we think really are the X factor players. Whether they play or not, these are the players making waves for Orange County. So if you like this change to the format, let us know. And if you don't like it, you want us to go back to the other one, also let us know. But Jason, open us up with, who's the player that you did some deep reconnaissance on who might be an X factor for Orange County?
Yeah, it's going to be Chris Heggard here, their playmaker. Everything kind of tends to flow through him in the attacking third, whether he's operating a 10 or kind of dropping deeper to collect the ball. He's a player who dictates Orange County's rhythm. He's dangerous because he doesn't need much space to unlock a defense with a through ball or switch the point of attack. I think to kind of watch after him, Rhode Island's going to need to kind of stay compact between the midfield and the back line there. Don't give him a lot of room to operate, prevent him from, turning into open space. Don't allow ourselves to get countered there. Kind of force him to play sideways or backwards rather than forward.
Yeah, I think I heard on a broadcast, if Hegarth is comfortable, Orange County is comfortable. And I really like that because when a player sets the tone, like a Modric for Croatia, when you think about it, right? When that happens, the momentum carries through a playmaker's decisions and how they want to set pace. So I think I agree with that. I cheated on this. I should have warned you. I took the low hanging fruit here in Bazzini because of course we're going to talk Bazzini on this show because why didn't he play for Rhode Island FC ever? But listen, Bazzini was lighting up in University of Vermont. He was lighting it up with South Georgia Tormenta last season in the USL 1. It should be no surprise that he is one of the hottest attacking players coming out of the Western Conference, especially in these most recent weeks. He is a player, if you haven't watched any of him before, he thrives when his team is moving quickly. Like you win the ball, you transition and go. I would say that his buildup or his running into the game is not as good as his ability to make quick decisions, take a look at net, and just find the back of the net when he shoots. He's an incredible player. He has a lot of athleticism. He loves to make challenging runs. Again, when the ball's in transition and it's at pace, and he can just absolutely punish backlines if they're caught unaware. That's one of the biggest, scariest things for me. Again, we talk about will Rhode Island fall asleep in those first 5, 10, 20 minutes? Krifa Yao is going to have to be on his A game trying to lock down Bazzini in this case, because we don't want to see him, remind us why we didn't sign him back in 2024. As far as what Rhode Island's going to do to contain him, you've got to be really selective in how you are moving the game and winning those second balls in the midfield. You can't be turning it over in the midfield either. And that's not something Rhode Island historically does. Usually we are pretty good about moving the ball wide. Very rarely do we go through the midfield, and at least in the central channel, I should say. But that's going to be a critical one. And the other thing, too, I think that the best way to suppress Bazzini is, and not let him get out there in front, is make him have to defend. And that's something we've done really good. Recycling the possession in the opponent's final third, smothering those teams where, we're taking shots, we're sending crosses. Maybe they're not goals, but then we're collecting possession again. We're recovering those shots, those efforts, and keeping those teams pinned. You don't want Bazzini to be able to stretch the back line or get into spaces where he can take a route one over the top. So the thing with a player like this, he just needs one moment, and he's going to unlock the entire match for Orange County. That he's got to be mission one to shut down.
Yeah. Last one here, kind of a difference maker for OCSC here is Alex Rando. Normally
a goalkeeper?
Nobody always talk about goalkeepers, but he does deserve it here. He's been capable of stealing points with multiple high quality saves here. Has been one of the more dependable keepers in the USL Championship so far this season. If RIFC settles for hopeful shots from distance, he's likely to be able to deal with those. So going to have to kind of make him uncomfortable here. We need to create some traffic in front of goal. We have a big team, so we know we can kind of do that here. We're going to need to generate some second chance opportunities, something that, a lot of other teams we've seen do well, and RIFC's getting better at it. But
Afonso's goal, that was a second chance.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's something we've asked for this team, in previous seasons, which maybe been lacking a bit. Try and force Rando, I should say, to kind of move laterally with quick combinations rather than just always kind of being kind of a little more clean and straightforward there. I think if they can screen him, make him uncomfortable, challenge him in the air, don't let him see the first shot, you could definitely get at him. We saw in the going back and watching tape against Las Vegas, they put some goals up in front of him. Despite the defense that they have, there are opportunities to score against this team.
I'm not convinced they're the real deal. The orange and black guys were saying they were the real deal, but they were going off of shots against and goals conceded. Vegas is not really a great team right now. I'm not trying to disrespect them, but Vegas had way too many dangerous looks for a team that's like supposed to be shutting down offenses, and Vegas is they're at 9th in the Western Conference right now. So I'm a little suspicious. I know we're 9th, so that maybe isn't the best. Maybe they're 11th. Where's Monterey Bay at? All right, moving on. Danny Stone, excuse me, because he's not related to Grant Stoneman, is kind of a talisman for Rhode Island FC to not find success. Famously, he's one of the few coaches in this league that Coach Conno Smith has never found a victory against. First at his time with Phoenix Rising when he was at Bern and defeated us there, and then in his time with Orange County. Is there do we need that Ghanaian voodoo shaman to put a curse on? I mean, the Ghanaians are here with us in Rhode Island. Do we just need to ask him to come over and curse Orange County this weekend?
I mean, hey, we thought the same thing about Loudon. So it's something to kind of watch out for. If we aren't able to get a result, we can blame it on the curse of Danny Stone.
If by the way, that same voodoo shaman has said that Argentina will not win. He's put all of his good voodoo on Cape Verde. So do we take that away from Cape Verde and selfishly use it so that we win against Orange County? I don't know. But getting serious here for a second, what are the key takeaways really quickly for Rhode Island FC and how they can get 3 points here? I'll go quickly. They got to dictate tempo at home. It's a home crowd. It's fireworks night. It can be the 12th man for them. And we don't want Orange County to play the way that they want to play. I think they're going to have to stay disciplined in transition with a player like Bazzini. They're going to have to be watching, waiting, looking for those dangerous challenges. And then it's really down, and we've seen this, right? We've heard Conno say when they score a goal, play for the next 5 minutes. Well, now I'm going to say the first 5 seconds after losing possession, maybe the most important 5 seconds of the night. You cannot let this, they are too clinical and they're too quick at moving the ball to get caught in transition, and then be clinical. But I think we're going to see more of this because our team is no longer just collecting shots for the sake of collecting shots. They're converting them, or they're looking even more dangerous. They're no longer just sitters. They're no longer just kicked directly at the keeper. We're starting to see that finesse. And so, strikers don't have to be perfect for 90 minutes. They just have to get one at the right time, right place. So make the most of it. That's what I've got.
Yeah. I think it's going to be important to win space around Chris Haggard. We just talked about how key he is for the team. I think if we can kind of not necessarily need to man mark him, but deny him space, don't let him kind of run at us, force him to go backwards. I think that's going to be huge for us. Attack the space behind the fullbacks. I think if we can get Quizera out down there on the way, if Pitti can get some space, even Sanchez, I think we can create some really good opportunities. I think we're going to need to make set pieces count here. Especially we just talked about kind of making their goalkeeper uncomfortable, getting into those spaces, attacking those second balls. Really could give RIFC a good opportunity to pick up some goals and hopefully go for all the points here.
Yeah, like you said earlier, they haven't kept a clean sheet since April 18th. Rhode Island's going to find a way to score a goal. They just probably have to be the first to do it in this match, whether it's in the first half or deep into the second. But we've got to go to break, and when we get back, we've got everyone's favorite segment. It's the mailbag here on the Raising Anchor Soccer Show.
Now, let's get back to the Raising Anchor Soccer Show on 990 WBOB with Matt Entrican and Jason Carey.
All right, back here on the Raising Anchor Soccer Show with the mailbag. Remember, you can get your questions, comments, or concerns for our show. You can reach out to us on any of the social media handles at Raising Anchor or at RFC Podcast. You can email us, raisinganchorpodcast@gmail.com, or you can just watch the show live and send in comments, and we'll talk about them in real time, where we don't have time to prep them, because when you send them to us 3 weeks ago, we get to stew on them for a long time, kind of like this first question, Jason.
Yeah, Ben S says here, what are your thoughts on the Matthew Ndongo deal now that Logan Dorsey is gone? It seems even worse now that one of the best young players out there was let go for peanuts. What was Kano thinking?
So, it's funny. Ben asked this one in person, and I was like, I'm going to add this to the mailbag. I think he's spot on. I mean, when we thought of the Logan Dorsey deal, no one was really looking back in time to preseason when we had let Matthew Ndongo go for an undisclosed fee, probably less than $20,000, if we're being completely honest, to go down to Miami FC. At the time, Ndongo had played 72 minutes for the club, and that was when we were incapable of fielding more than 17 people in a squad at a time. So when you look at it, at the time, I was like, yeah, this makes sense. He's Cameroonian. His Cameroonian, side friend in Chico, he also left the club. So maybe it was wrong time, wrong place. It felt weird because the club always said, this guy is going to be a real threat. This guy's going to be a big deal at some point in his career. But then we never see that moment. And it's eclipsed by the fact that we go and get one of MLS Next Pro's best strikers. So you just don't think about it at the time. But now you see it, it's like, okay, we lost Logan Dorsey because he wanted to leave because Kano wasn't giving him minutes. It's kind of like Coach Kano, I'm good with. General Manager Kano, I'm really good with. Like when he grabs players, he finds value. He knows how to get it. But like when it's keeping these players, like how did we not think, like, was it really worth getting rid of Ndongo at that point? Like no offense to Gogo, but like Ndongo has to be a better upgrade than that. Should we have really pulled the trigger on that, knowing that all of our hopes and prayers were settling in with a loaned player at the time? It just makes this all feel a little bit more yucky because we keep asking ourselves, Jason, where do we find this next player? Where do we find this next striker? Well, we had one, and I didn't realize that we gave him away at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, it's rough too because, we've been blessed though here. I'm not superstitious, but knock on wood. But, JJ has had some health problems in the past. So what if he goes down?
What if he has another kid we don't know about and he just has to go to the birth of his child, right? Like I think he's working on 4 because he's going to name his 4th child Quad, right? Or is that it? Yeah, that'd be his 4th child. That was a bad joke. Anyways, moving on here. Matt H writes in, can Torin be on more? I specifically said people needed to stop asking this question.
I would love for Torin to be on more, but he's also a very busy young man. He goes to university. He coaches like a youth team, like
for Chelsea
or something. He's got a lot to do.
He ditches us at watch
He
parties.
doesn't want it. He's too cool to hang out with us at the watch party. So I mean, it's we'll try and get as much torn as we can on, but he's got a lot going on in his world.
Too busy.
Rachel M says, Team Messi or Team Ronaldo?
Why are we doing this, Rachel? Like, I saw this question come in. It's like, this is like asking me what my political alignments are. Like, like what are we doing? All right. I'm right now, I'm Team Cape Verde. And that's all you need to know. And we already know that Jason's Team Ronaldo. So
Messi is the GOAT.
Messi is the GOAT. There you go. I said it. I was always Team Zlatan. Now I'm probably Team Holland. Like that'll be the next conversation. In like one more year, these two players will retire, and it'll be Team Holland or Team Mbappe. That's probably going to be the next, I imagine, one that we would have the conversation about. So stop living in the past, Rachel. Start living towards the future. Are you Team Holland or are you Team Mbappe? Kyle L writes in, how do we get Vizinha from Cape Verde to sign with this club? I love this question.
I mean, I think that would be a fantastic publicity thing. I think considering that Koke always starts. It's also really weird because Vizinha played in World Cup and has made some really good saves. But at the same time, he is 40 years old. So you can't get a lot out of him. I think considering the response we've seen from the Cape Verdean population in the state makes you really think like you don't want to go full MLS, but like, how do you sign a Cape Verdean player?
Ownership. There's one Cape Verdean I know of. I think he plays for Columbus. There's one Cape Verdean defender that I know. I think he plays for the Columbus Crew. But Brett Johnson, look at me right now. Okay. I don't know how much he wants, but you'll make it up in jersey sales alone if you do it right now. He's looking for his next club. There's no rule in the USL Championship that we can't have 4 keepers. Okay. There's no rule. There's no rule. He does not have to play for us. He just is looking for a home. Make it make sense. Get a deal going. Profit. And, maybe a year after this, maybe he becomes a goalkeeping coach and he stays with his Cape Verdean community. I shouldn't have to tell you how easy. This is the best financial decision you could ever make. Brett Johnson, pull the trigger.
Andy R says, when do the New England Revolution send down Wilson Harris to us on loan?
There's a lot of smart fans. They're all curious. There's another one in here about like loans and stuff and like signings. Like everyone's just so hungry for the next player acquisition because we're almost at that point where World Cup cycle is over and like players start moving around. Wilson Harris, for those that don't know, famously from Louisville City, scored a ton of goals with Louisville, and then I think he went to like the Israeli Premier League or something like that. I don't know how well he did, but then he just pops back up on our radars, and he now just recently signed with New England Revolution. Don't know what role he'll have in that side. Hashtag not an MLS soccer show. But yeah, Revolution, whenever you're ready to loan out one of your players, send them down. We have a really good relationship of giving you back exactly what you want whenever you want. So just send them down and we'll give them right back 6 weeks later. Yep. It'll be fine. Do you have an Open Cup game you need to get to? Because we'll give them to you right when you need them the most. Who cares about Rhode Island FC and what they need? Gosh, I'm a little saucy tonight. This World Cup's just got me. It's because Croatia should have tied that game. Anyways, Brad K writes in, here's the mood killer, Jason. Sorry I gave you this question. Attendance seems to be suffering in the USL right now as every market is down. Do you think that the USL should have just taken a break like the rest of the sport?
I think hindsight will be 2020 if those attendances continue to suffer. If we, as the tournament is starting to kind of wind down here, right, we're going to get spread out like fewer games. They're not going to be every single day. Does the focus shift and turn back to your local team? Do attendances start to jump with the summer? Is it just kind of a coincidence? I think it's too soon to say right now. If we go into the summer and continue to have poor attendance results, then maybe there's also something else at play. Maybe heat, maybe the economy.
First it was the snow and cold. Now it's the heat. I will say this. I've heard that the 4th of July game is very closely approaching a sellout. It may already be there and they just haven't announced it yet, or they may need to like get a few more. And that's a 4th of July where other people may want to be doing other things. Like the fact that it's Pawtucket's fireworks show is also probably helping, but that's a good boon in at least Rhode Island FC's direction to say, hey, like the warm weather's finally here. We're in the middle of a World Cup. And you could be anywhere, but you're going to watch this game with us. Like,
well, the games also are earlier in the day, so you can watch all the World Cup games and still attend RIFC.
Right, but they would have had that game at that time for fireworks. If like if the World Cup had said, hey, our World Cup game is at 7:30 at night, Rhode Island still would have stubbornly had that game at the exact same time for fireworks. So, but I agree. I think this will be a good pressure test against the rest of the league. And for all intent, it sounds like it's going to be a sellout.
Yeah. Alex J says, I don't know if you're aware, but Cal Jennings is a free agent again. Is it realistic that we could sign him?
Should I tell the story about what I texted you earlier today, or do you think that could get me in trouble with the club?
I don't know what you're talking about.
All right, I'm going to say it. So, no, I'm not going to say it. Sorry, guys. And that just sets this up so terribly. Now everyone's going to think Cal Jennings is coming to Rhode Island FC. Yes, I am completely aware that Cal Jennings is a free agent. And I have heard, not through Rhode Island FC contacts, but I have heard that there is conversations that he possibly could make a championship return somewhere. Like there's a lot of championship squads right now that would absolutely scoop Cal Jennings up. That's all I can say. I just should smile and wave at this point. But Cal Jennings will most likely, I would say it's a 50% chance that he's coming to a USL squad, or he might be trying to like workshop getting into an MLS squad where they have needs. But like, don't be surprised if he at least returns to North America.
That was such a weird move that didn't pan out at all. So it does make
maybe
sense
he had a Japanese girlfriend.
Back.
You know, let's not judge. Maybe I mean he dresses like a Jedi. Maybe he's just a big like nerd, and he wanted to get to like the heart of anime and city pop music
or something.
Yeah, and you know maybe he just wanted to buy a vending machine like sodas and alcohol at like 3 a.m. because he can in Japan. Like, who are we to judge? You know,
hey, if he's living his best life, why not?
Maybe he was trying to get cap-tied for Japan because he was never going to make it to the American squad. Could he still do that? I don't know. What's the next question here? Alicia V writes in, now that we are in the elimination rounds, who do you think will win the World Cup? Has your opinion changed?
Before the tournament, I felt like there was a little bit of questions in regards to France's, let's say, defense. I don't think they've been tested at all. They're still eviscerating people. I think they look like they could easily win the World Cup, but I also don't think they played anyone who's really tested them until they go them up against like Argentina or Spain, like someone who can really take it to them. I feel like they're probably favorites, but it's hard to say. I kind of had a little more faith in Portugal because on paper they have such a good squad. And watching them barely,
they're on life support.
They just keep scraping by somehow.
Them and Belgium just keep scraping by.
Belgium is tanked. I mean, I actually didn't. I think before I did not think that the U.S. would do this well. I've never seen the U.S. play this well.
Yeah, because they haven't won a knockout round since 2002. Nobody has.
I mean, this is the most exciting, like fun U.S. team I've ever seen play. Like I enjoy watching them play. I'm not kind of sitting there thinking like the boys just got to hold on and scrape for, a scrappy, header.
I will say this. I said France to win it in our initial. I said Morocco is my dark horse. The problem is they're going to run into each other very quickly here. So I'm going to have to really sit on one side of the fence or the other. The team that I kind of quietly am like starting to like really keep attention to, Mexico. Mexico doesn't have stars like Haaland or Mbappe or Messi, but they are so fluid. They are so much fun to watch that like you can.
I think they'll knock out England.
Here's the thing. I think what I do too. I think they're going to beat England. The crazy thing is I want to know how much of that is the advantage of Azteca, both at its altitude and it's having 90,000 home fans in your quarter. Like obviously the next game in the quarterfinals would take them to Miami, which is like home number 3 for Mexican fans, at least inside the United States. So like it's not a terrible jump, but like they've lived in Azteca for the last 5 weeks, and it is at altitude. And if we complain about Carlos Spigs in that final, I can't imagine how these international countries, these national teams are coming in and acclimating as quickly as possible. So, but Mexico has been an incredibly fun team to watch. I think that's one that you want to keep your eye on. Can they win it all? Don't know about that, but it's been a fun team to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt J says here, if you had to compare players on the RIFC roster to countries in the World Cup, other than the countries they represent, who would they be?
So this is like a personality to a country or a performance, like playing style. Matthew Jean's question, not concise enough. So I'm going to go off of vibes. I'm just going to go strictly off of vibes. So from a party perspective, I don't care. I know this isn't the way he wants it, but Coque Vegas embodies Spain. Like he looks like a Spaniard, he talks like a Spaniard, he acts like a Spaniard.
Turns out
He must be a Spaniard, right? Like he is a Spanish player. But for the sake of what they're asking, I'm going to go a little different here. And I feel like when you look at a player like Clay Holstead to me, not an American player. He suits his vibe, suits more like a Sweden or even like a Belgium team. I feel like Clay Holstead could tear things up if he was a Belgian player. It's just vibe checks purely. Noah Fuson, also Belgian player. We get both of them onto that team together. Magic happens. Perfect.
Don't want any magic to happen.
JJ Williams, by the way, Cape Verdean, because he's a party and we need to keep that party. If JJ Williams was Cape Verdean in our population, do you know how fun that would be? That'd be amazing. The city would pop. The city would never sleep. We'd become Vegas 2.0. Not Coque Vegas, but Las Vegas 2.0. You get it. How about you? Do you want to take a shot at this? It's a very tough question.
Yeah, I'm kind of also not 100% sure exactly what he's trying to ask us here. Maybe when we run into him, he can clarify.
So that's a no, by the way. He doesn't want to answer your question, Matt. Oh, my question then. Eric N., who's ready for a repeat of the 2014 showdown between the United States and Belgium?
My heart can't take it.
Oh, I'm ready.
I do have a lot more confidence in our team, but also this Belgium team, like Portugal for some reason, is just like, it's like, how is this team getting by? They're really not convincing anybody. They're just somehow stumbling into results. We played them not too long ago, and I know it's just a friendly, but they did put the hurt on us. So I would have felt probably a little more confident against Senegal. I feel like Senegal, despite their good attack, they kind of fall apart very easily. Whereas Belgium is almost like if you give them enough of opportunities, they will build into something cohesive, even though a lot of times they just look like they're constantly a shell of like they're less than the sum of their parts, right? There's so much talent on that team, but how do you turn that to anything that's cohesive?
I mean, does it say anything that we just played Senegal too in that friendly right before the tournament kicked off? Is that an advantage, or would that have done us a disadvantage? And we actually want this game, we just don't realize it.
I mean, but that's the thing. We played both of them within the last few months, so I don't know if that would kind of either way. It just felt like Senegal was the more beatable team, and somehow they went up 2-0 against Belgium. But Belgium is they're bald frauds too. So
fun fact, do you want to take a guess how many of the players from the 2014 squad still remain with this team? I mean, there's an easy one.
Courtois,
Yep.
De Bruyne,
Yep.
There's probably like one or two others I'm forgetting, so I'm just gonna say 5.
5. Let's see. So yeah, you're right. You've got Courtois. I can't talk
Courtois.
about it. Courtois, De Bruyne, and then no, that's it.
That's it.
At least from the starting population.
Yeah, I mean, I see you've got Lukaku somewhere in there,
well,
but
Lukaku wouldn't start.
He's not starter, so that's 3. But
Yeah.
a lot of the other guys, the defenders, they're just not there anymore.
Yeah.
It's a lot of new blood.
So two team. Guess how many from the USA side of things though?
0. I mean, right? Because it really is not. It's not the same generation at all. So
yeah, that's maybe they'll reactivate Tim Howard one last time. Hey, if we can have old keepers for Cape Verde, we can have old keepers for the US. Next question.
Yeah, Samantha R. If you guys were giving out mid-season awards, who would be your candidates for best new signing and best defender for this team right now?
Best new signing got to be Nick Scardina. I think right now he's really showing his case. And then best defender,
also Nick Scardina.
Nick Scardina. Well, I feel like he hasn't played as many. He hasn't started as many matches. Krifa, yeah, it's got to be Krifa,
easily.
Rich W asks, has any player impressed you enough in this World Cup cycle at the level of championship play that we should be trying to get Connor Smith to sign them?
And really good question. I've seen way too many soccer matches in the last three weeks. But the thing is, this has been a very exciting World Cup, But we were talking about this earlier off pod, but like, I don't know if I've really seen a player announce himself. It's very much like the players who we thought they were are good. Turns out they're very good. So you see Messi, Holland, and Mbappe putting up numbers. I mean, even Ronaldo, not as much, but he's come up clutch here with a penalty and a few goals there. Olise, did very well for Bayern. Turns out he's also very good for France too. I mean, you could look at, and this is the problem too, is championship level, right? So you look at
Vizinha.
I mean, that would probably, if we're looking at any championship level players, you'd have to look at probably the Cape Verdean team and the Curacao team are the only teams that would probably have players that we could actually look at and realistically have any chance of going forward.
And Miami has half of the Curacao players, so
yeah. So I mean,
what about Lukaku? We could get Lukaku in, right? He's not doing much these days.
All right, Ronaldo's 41 now, right? He wants to. Does it count if he scores a bunch of goals in the USL Championship?
Doesn't he want to own?
He wants to get to 1,000, right?
Yeah, Brett Johnson. Again, here's another question for the night for you. Just sell Ronaldo half of the controlling interest in the club. I'm sure Michael Parkhurst and everyone else will be fine with it, and let him be a player owner for like a year. Turn this entire town Portuguese, and it'll be fine. All right. Well, that's a great mailbag. Thanks for all of you guys' fun. Don't forget to get your questions in each week. Always a blast talking to everyone. Let's get the show home, Jason. It's been a long night, and there's more soccer to happen here in just a few minutes. What's the ref report looking like for this game ahead?
Yeah, head ref is going to be J.C. Griggs. We've got an assistant referees of Ian McKay and Marcus Moss, with the fourth official of Gurin Dolgan.
And a reminder, as you get to this game, it will be a fantastic evening for soccer on the Seekonk River. Temperatures in the low 80s. The rain has all moved into later into the week, so we're going to have a sunny weekend for the first time that I can remember. Tailgating does open at 4:30 with the rest of parking at 5:30. Gates to the stadium open at 6:30 p.m. for that 7:30 kickoff. And don't forget to stay for the fireworks after the match. If you can't make it because you have obligations somewhere else, or you don't want to go when it's warm and you only enjoy rainy games, so you're going to watch it from the comfort of your home or somewhere else, you can catch the action on MyIRTV or WPRI 12 Plus app. And of course, you can always get it on ESPN Plus or listen along with Tom and Nick on 790 The Score. Tom has been on every single like World Cup broadcast that I've seen on my TV lately. I think he's trying to make the jump until we have to look at his face when he talks and not just hear his voice inside our ears. So it's good to see him putting some work in on that side.
Who do you got for Algeria, Switzerland that drops in 30 minutes?
You know what? There's a guy that's been on, he's like blowing up on TikTok and Instagram. He basically shows up on his live wearing a kit, and whichever kit he's wearing, that team does not win. He has like now predicted the last 10 matches in a row since South Korea like got knocked out, and like he's just gotten them all right, or I guess he's gotten them all wrong. So like people are like sabotaging the other nations' teams by sending this guy like actual kits. People are like offering to pay him money to not say their team, and but he is, and they're all live. He's not like doing both, and like he's just like, if you wanted to do sports betting for the first time in your life, and I'm not saying to, just go find that dude's feed, listen to which team he's saying will win, and then just do the opposite. So I think for the fun of it, I think it's going to be Switzerland, but it'd be fun to see Algeria get an upset. We need one more upset here. Another Paraguay team kind of style. We need an upset.
Okay, so Riyad Mahrez masterclass. He's only like 35, right?
He can do it. If anyone can do it, it'll be him. How about you? What do you got?
I think Switzerland probably has got it, but so far this World Cup has been wild. So gotta stay tuned to see what happens.
One for the ages.
All right, everyone. It's been fun as always. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you soon. Anchors up.
Anchors up.
You've been listening to the Raising Anchor Soccer Show. You can follow the show on Twitter, Threads, Blue Sky, and TikTok at RIFC Podcast and at Raising Anchor on Instagram. And be sure to check out and subscribe to Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, or wherever you listen by searching for Raising Anchor. Make sure to check out all of our coverage over at the Blazing Musket for all your New England soccer coverage, including RAFC news at theblazingmusket.com. Fans, we thank you for listening. We ask you to be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the show. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm your main man, Juju, and on behalf of the Raising Anchor crew, goodbye for now. And as always, we are Rhode Island FC.